Good evening, everyone. This is the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners for March 8th. We're going to have a public hearing on the following items to be considered on second reading. The first of these is approval and annexation and plan of services for 815 John Wright Road. Rezone 256 West Division from single-family residential to commercial town center. Approve the annexation and plan of services for Hamilton Denson Park located on Tate Lane for a city park. Amend the Mount Juliet City Code, Chapter 4, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 474, sales to begin at 10 a.m. on Sunday. Rezone to single-family residential RS40 and multifamily RM8 PUD for Windtree Pines located on Nonneville Road. Move appropriated funds from Parks Land to Parks Improvement in the fiscal year 2021 budget. These 6 items are being considered for this public hearing. If you would like to address the Board of Commissioners, this is your opportunity to address this. We will, when the public hearing ends, we will reconvene at 6:30 for a regular meeting. But if you would like to address the Board of Commissioners on any of these 6 items, please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please. We recognize for 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Atterbury. The address is actually just listed as Paradise Drive. It would be Plat 15. It's the backside of what will be the Windtree Pine subdivision. So my property shares an easement with what is currently the property on the backside of that I believe has just been sold or will be sold, closed on at the end of the month. I believe that's where the townhomes will be built. So my concern is that they told me that a road would be built from that subdivision out to Paradise Drive, and I'm just concerned that that road will be utilizing my easement that originally was the intent to make sure that land was not landlocked for the single home family dwelling behind. So that's my concern on that easement of the roadway. Yeah.
Here's where Paradise goes up, and here's the townhomes up here.
Okay, so Paradise Drive.
Is up here.
Okay, so my property runs right out. It runs,
If there's anybody else that wishes to address the board,
so it's lot 15, or plat 15.
Uh-huh.
So it'd be right.
name and
Sharon
address.
Nolan, 1409 Tate Lane.
Appears to be.
We're wondering, is the city prepared to share a proposed traffic plan or impacts or any mitigation efforts for Tate Lane with the annexation of the soccer fields or the park? I didn't know if now's the appropriate time to discuss that or at some point in the future. As we know, Tate Lane is quite a cut through. Safety is a concern. It's kind of a safety hazard. And with it being a shared road and resource between the city and the county, we're just wondering.
I can say most of Tate Lane is in the county, so the city will not be annexing the road. There's no plans right now to annex the road on that.
Our concern is, I believe the sign at Victory Baptist is a designation for the city limit. But I got to wonder if cars come out of that park, the easiest way to get out of there is to turn right, head north on Tate Lane, headed towards Lebanon Road. And that's just going to put a lot of cars on an already dangerous road. So.
All right. Do you want city manager? Do you want?
Mayor, I know, Commissioner, I know this nice lady, and I definitely understand her concerns along with several others that live on that stretch of roadway. Of course, we got the pasture as well. We're absolutely, if there's Mr. Matt White is not in the room. I believe he stepped out to help one of the local citizens, but we can share that with the citizens if they'd like. We'll also be strongly discouraging folks to take that northern route anybody that's ever went that way will tell you that's not the way to go. But she's right. There may be some that get misguided or a little misdirected. These are the fine folks that painted our mural on the side of the old
That's what I
Staggs
started
Pharmacy
wondering.
building.
There.
Yeah. So I want to thank those sweet ladies for doing that. But yeah, we can get you that information, and we share those same concerns to make sure we're discouraging people from going northbound. And Mr. Hunter up on the hill as well, and Mr. Robinson and the others feel the same. So we'll do everything to discourage that big time.
Encourage a left turn only out.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're making, I think, as a result of the commissioners and Commissioner Hefner as well, some safety improvements to that crossing there for those pedestrians that are using that greenway.
Perfect. Anybody else wishing to address the Board of Commissioners?
Of course. Hi, my name is Will Sellers. I live at 2520 Port Kimball Drive, Mount Juliet. And this is the beginning of something big. I have been on committees, projects, whatever, for the last 20 years, trying to get us to the point where we are tonight. So to me, this is the beginning of something big. I have hauled my kids and my grandkids all over the collar counties playing soccer, and now I can start bringing them home again. So thank you for doing this, and let's keep it alive. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address the Board of Commissioners? We got anyone in the hallway that may be waiting? All right. Seeing no one else, we will adjourn the public hearing and reconvene at 6:30. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. It's the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners, May 8th, 2021. I'm going to call this meeting to order and declare a quorum present. We have 3 members of the board here present. We have 1 attending online, and then we have a 5th that is absent, but we meet the qualifications for a quorum. At this point, I am at the point where we set agenda. I'm going to ask if there's no objection, moving item number 8.1 and items number 8.5 to unfinished business. Those are currently on part of the consent agenda. I'd like to remove them from consent agenda if there's no objection and read those separately as part of unfinished business. Seeing no objection, then which, yeah, let's move. It's a good catch. Let's move that one behind. Let's move it behind 8.5. 8.6, which is the plan of services for John Wright Road. So we can vote on the annexation before the plan of services. Just
We're moving 8.1, 8.5, and 8.6.
yes, ma'am. If there's no objection. Hearing no objections, we'll set the agenda as published otherwise. At this point, I would like to recognize Dr. Chuck Groover. He's the senior pastor of Victory Baptist Church. He will lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Right, would everyone stand, please? Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day to live, another day to enjoy the wonderful provision that you have made for all of us. And as we gather here tonight and as we rejoice in this day, we are reminded of just how blessed we are to live in a county and in a city that provides for its citizens and provides a place where we can all feel safe. We know that we're not a perfect community, but we are grateful that we can be united in an effort to make it a perfect place for all. We thank you for its welcoming spirit, and we thank you that we are kind and gentle, and we pray that we will continue to recognize the need for that spirit among us. We thank you for those who lead us, and we pray your blessing upon them, that you would keep them safe, that you would always provide wisdom, courage, and strength as they make important decisions that will impact all of us in the days to come. Now may we walk with you, may we share your love with our neighbors, and it's in the name of our Lord we pray. Amen. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. He stepped away from the microphone, but this was part of my comments tonight was going to be to thank you, Pastor, for the wonderful message Sunday and the special invitation to be there. I was going to touch a little bit more on the events that happened roughly a year ago, but I'll say at the time I remember that night saying that it's being staged in this Victory Baptist Church, and it was your church that stepped up there as it was the first spot I think we were sending people to that night. So it doesn't always get said, but I want to say it here. Thank you, sir, for your service and your congregation, and means so much for this city. With that, we'll move on to citizen comments. If there's anyone in the room that would like to address the Board of Commissioners, this is your one and only opportunity to address the board.
Hi, thank you.
I'm Tracy Pope with Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital, but I'm coming to you tonight on behalf of the Wilson County Health Council by promoting Walk Across Wilson. About 5 years ago, our Health Council started Walk Across Wilson, which is just an event to promote physical fitness and healthy living. In 2020, we were able to have an extremely nice dignitary walk where we started on the west end of the county in Mount Juliet, and also the east end of the county in Watertown, and had people sort of pass the baton, walking a mile at a time, and we met in the middle at the Wilson County Courthouse. In light of our pandemic, we're not able to do that this year, but we are having a kickoff event on March the 27th at 9 a.m. And we would just like to invite any dignitary that would like to join us. We're going to start walking at the train station. We'll walk 1 mile in one direction, come back to the train station, and walk another mile in another direction. So a total of 4 miles. You can stop halfway in between if you would like, but it would last about an hour. And it's just to kick off our event for the year. You can go to our Facebook page to see additional information, or contact myself or Ray Render. He wasn't able to join us tonight, but he's an avid member of the Health Council. So we would just like to invite you all out on March the 27th at 9 a.m.
Right. Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, everybody. Michael Smiley. I am the 8.1, and earlier I was just I'm a newbie, just trying to get clarification on where we're at with that.
You're on the agenda on.
Well, I thought you said that 8.1 would be moved.
I did say yes, sir.
Okay.
I said we move it to unfinished business.
Okay. What will I need to do?
Nothing. It's not being heard as part of the consent agenda.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was tonight.
It is tonight. It's just not part of the consent agenda on the agenda. Move. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Sorry for the confusion. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for the Board of Commissioners? If there's no one waiting in the hallway, then the next item of business is approval of minutes for the Board of Commissioners for the regularly scheduled meeting on February 22nd at 6:30. Is there a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any changes? Hearing none. All in favor of the minutes as published, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, passes unanimously. Our next item of business is Commissioner reports and comments. I'll recognize District 2, Commissioner Bill Trevette.
Thank you, sir. Just want to first of all thank you to everyone that took their time to spend this past week for the tornado remembrance. That was something I had to watch remotely, but it turned out awesome, and we appreciate everybody that took the time and efforts in putting that together. I know Captain Tyler Chandler had put a lot of time and effort into the recording and making that productive for everyone. So we appreciate that. And also for Chief Luffman for his reports on the continued effort in the safety for our community, along with the new possibility for the ambulance service. So we appreciate that. But at this time, no other information for District 2. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. I recognize Commissioner Hefner, District 3.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to wish Kenny Martin happy birthday. I know we haven't had a BOC meeting since, so happy belated birthday. Also, want to say just real quickly, during the campaign, I met with a lot of constituents, and it was a common theme that a lot of folks just didn't know what district they were in. They didn't realize who their elected officials were, whether that's city, county, school board. So been working with their director of IT, Travis. I think he's got it up on the screen to add a new feature to the Mount Juliet website. So anybody can go on It's My Elected Officials. There's a link so you can enter in your address and it'll pull up all the elected officials that are tied specifically to your area. Or it's an interactive map as well. You can click on any area of the map and it will pull up the elected officials. You can click down, drill down, you can get to their contact information, find out who they are, and also what district or board that's in. So appreciate Travis for putting that together. So thank you. Appreciate that. I think he's got it out. So My Elected Officials on the Mount Juliet website. Last but not least, I can't mention him by name, but I want to congratulate Mount Juliet's Employee of the Year. He's a detective, given the nature of his role. I'll refrain from mentioning his name, but I do want to give a big shout out and a thank you. That's a pretty big award, given the wonderful people that work for the city. So, anyways, and that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, sir. District 4, Commissioner Millay.
Happy birthday, Kenny. No, it was your birthday. I discovered that elected official on the website. I was searching for something. I did not know it was there. And so, because I had a question, I discovered it. And so I was able to even share it. So that's great. I listened to the ceremony, the year anniversary ceremony on the way back from Florida, and it was very touching. It was sorry I had to miss it. I sent out my February newsletter the other day at jennifermullally.com. You can access it on my homepage. If you haven't signed up, you can also sign up for email and also send out periodic updates, very important updates as well. There is a citywide survey that our consulting company is working on for a park master plan. It's citywide. And so I've also advertised that in the newsletter, as well as Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, and also through emails. So it's very important to get your voice heard. This is the front end of a future plan. I have done polls, in my district as well, but this doesn't have anything to do with that. This is over and beyond anything that I've done. So please, if you didn't see where I sent it out and shared it, I know the city posted it on your Facebook page. So go on there, find it. If you can't find it, please contact me and I will be glad to send you the link. It's very important to get that in the plan. And that's all I had.
All right, thank you. Next, I'll recognize our city manager, Mr. Kenny Martin.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Commissioners, and thanks everybody for coming out tonight. And thanks for those that are watching from home, not able to be here tonight. I want to start off by thanking staff and, of course, in particular, Captain Chandler, because I know he worked very hard with helping with organize a lot of this with our remembrance ceremony. We did that on the 2nd, which was, of course, the night before the 3rd, of course, with just a few hours, actually, because the tornado happened just after midnight on March the 3rd. Which was my birthday. So that's why the commissioners give me a belated birthday. So this year's is definitely much better than last year's. But I want to thank our elected body, our staff, and our citizens, and throughout the county, and folks like Miss Tracy for all the hard work and efforts that was put into it. It's hard to believe that it's already been a year since that happened. But when you think of how this community pulled together, as everybody knows, it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. And I think there was somebody that spoke earlier about a wonderful community. And we got Mr. Smiley back there. I don't know if he's still there or not. Wonderful name, Mr. Smiley. It's hard you not to smile, I bet. And welcome to Mount Juliet. But just thank everybody for what they did. I'd also like to thank our elected body participating, even if it's from a distance, for sponsoring the ceremony. And there's a couple special people I'd like to thank. I'd like to thank Alex Mullins for doing all the sound and the lighting. He volunteered for that up front. He actually reached out to us to do that. And also Raj Patel, a local business person that sponsored what I referred to as the Lights of Hope. We had 3 of those placed throughout the city, which was pretty cool. And it's basically just those are the 3 different locations as the tornado came through our community. So, Mayor, great words on your behalf. Commissioner Hefner, the same for yourself, and your wife's beautiful song that she wrote herself. That was actually a very moving song. Commissioner Hefner's wife wrote and performed a song at the ceremony that was quite moving. It was absolutely beautiful. So thank you all for participating. It made me quite proud because we love all of our residents. And in saying that, hate to end on this note, but it's a bit of a sad note. But just last week, I had the pleasure, we had one of our residences up at the City Hall visiting, paying I believe some type of sewer bill or property tax bill. And I saw him in the lobby. And this fellow is one of the first guys I met when I first came to the city over 31 years ago now. And had his little military hat on. He's a military veteran. And I got to thinking about it, and it just come upon me. I felt like I needed to give him something. So I went back and got one of our large city coins, which is our equivalent of key to the city. And Chief Hambrick called me this morning to let me know that gentleman had passed away unexpectedly. And his name was Pedro Lil. And back in the day when Mount Juliet didn't have a lot of resources in our community, Mr. Lil not only volunteered his vehicle, but he also purchased a canine dog and served as a reserve police officer for our city for a long time. And I remember kidding him because he was much older than what he actually looked. And even when I saw him, he hadn't changed that much. So it's just a big loss for our community. And I hate it because he is a fine and wonderful person. And I don't know words will help his family with any type of comfort, but I know that this entire community and every citizen in it and our elected body and staff wraps our arms around his family. But you wouldn't have met a sweeter, kinder man than this gentleman. I think he served on our senior citizens board for a long time, but just a wonderful loss for our community. So I just felt compelled to say that, and just glad I got to see him last week. So if y'all would keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers, we'd sure appreciate it. And Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. And that was definitely news to me as well of his passing. And I hate to hear that. Always a fine and upstanding gentleman. And I never knew him to have anything negative to say to anyone. So well, with that, I'd just like to add, I know some of you may have missed the earlier presentation that we had about our audit. And I just have a few things I want to point out about that. With global pandemic bearing down on us, tornadoes, over 1.6 million, I think, in FEMA funding passing through the city. The audit was completed, and they stood up here at just a few minutes ago and said that there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. And they went on to add that the record keeping was in excellent condition. So very pleased to have that. I'd like to thank our finance director, Ms. Dana Hire, for the hard work she and her staff does, because it's been several challenges that you don't see in a normal year come through here, and to still get a report like that on our city says a whole lot about the condition and the level of staff and expertise that we have here in the city. Also want to take an opportunity to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the staff for the work that they did in the remembrance ceremony, all the volunteers that made that possible. And, I believe it was 12:52 that morning when it come through, and, the tornado may have lasted or stayed in the city for just a few minutes, but, the healing continues and the scars continue. But I think it's important that we always remember the volunteers and the resources that came into this city. I know at times we had struggles of just where to store all the stuff, how to organize the number of volunteers that we had coming in here. And when the challenge was there, people stepped up to meet that challenge. And that's what makes this city, in a lot of ways, what it is, and the quality and the value that we have here. So a year later, I think it's important that we keep that in mind and keep those that are still recovering and healing from that in our prayers. So with that, we will move on to the business. We will start with our unfinished business and consent items. I will read those into the record at this point. Item number 8.2, an ordinance to rezone property known as 258 West Division Street, map 721, Group C, Parcel 3, from single-family residential RS20 to Commercial Town Center CTC. Item number 8.3, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 8.6 acres, property known as Hamilton Denson Park, and being found on Tate Lane, map 73, parcel 18, period 01, and being located within the city's urban growth boundary. Item number 8.4, an ordinance of the city of Mount Juliet to amend the Mount Juliet Code, Chapter 4, Alcohol Beverages, Section 470, Paragraph 4, Prohibited Acts by permitting holders agents, or employees to change the time to sell beer from noon on Sunday to 10 a.m. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And I'll second that. Any discussion on the items? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, that passes with a vote of 4-0. Our next item of business is Resolution 87, a resolution adopting a plan of services for the parcel known as the Hamilton Denson Park, located on Tate Lane, map 73, parcel 18, period 01 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. I'll make a motion for that.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Yes, sir.
Just very quickly, I went back through the planning commission notes and did not see where the planning commission had approved this plan of services. We can go ahead and approve it tonight, but it does need to go back before the planning commission unless I missed it somewhere.
I believe they approved the land purchase, but not the plan of services.
That's correct.
All right. So this needs to be noted then, I guess. Can you take care of that, City Recorder? This will go back to the planning commission. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Waiting on District 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said aye, gentlemen.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Unanimous. Next order of business, unfinished business 9-1, an ordinance to rezone to single-family residential RS40 and multifamily residential RM8 planned unit development and adopt the preliminary master development plan for Wind Tree Pine subdivision being located on Nonneville Road, map 49, parcel 74, 76, 7601 in the city of Mount Juliet, Wilson County, Tennessee. I'll make a motion.
Second.
All right, properly motioned and seconded on the table. I'll start out I think the biggest hurdle I'm feeling in this is the sewer service on this. Do we have a representative here from the development that can speak to it? And I'll just start out by saying I believe there's been some discussions with staff on this. Is there any update or progress on this from your standpoint?
Yeah, good evening. Joe Haddock, Civil Site Design Group, 2305 Klein Avenue. Yes, we've had multiple discussions with Public Works staff as well as the city's third-party consultant, Steve Jones from Water Management. I think we know, obviously, where Public Works stands to help as it moves forward. I believe the developer has an idea or a thought on how we could generate some additional funding to make that happen. He's sitting out in the hallway. I think he's on his way in. Yeah, so to back up, just make sure everybody has heard the same thing we're hearing. There's an existing pump station at Nonneville Road, directly across from our project access point. This pump station receives sewage flow from two additional pump stations further to the north, Paradise and the name of the second station, Royal Oaks. So the issue where you run into with one pump station receiving flow from two pump stations is that if both of those pumps are pumping at the same time, it could overload a single station. Now, probably the biggest issue we've heard of in this state with the Nonneville station is that this station pumps east to Green Hill Road, down Green Hill Road, across 70 to South Green Hill Road. The existing Nonneville station, or as it crosses down South Green Hill Road, goes under the railroad track. Our understanding is that there's some smaller diameter line where it crosses the railroad bed. That location is what's limiting the flow in that whole stretch. That takes us back to the existing Nonneville station. The Nonneville station is what's throttling the flow back going down South Green Hill Road. So that's kind of in a nutshell, the issues we're seeing with the Nonneville station. Obviously, we have 400 and some odd lots coming in next to it that would ultimately go to the Nonneville station. Sorry, I just want to confirm with Public Works. So in order to mitigate that, we've talked through a couple options that would be abandon the existing station, move it onto our site. Obviously, there's a lot of costs. I'm sure y'all have dealt with this on previous projects involved with that. We're not insensitive to that request, but that is obviously some existing issues with that station, whether we go forward or not. So I think Danny Hale is here and can outline a proposed plan that would help mitigate that.
Okay. So I think the real issue here is that you got two going into it now, and adding a third is I think where we're driving at. So.
To respond to that, there is existing capacity in the Paradise station. We've talked with staff about that. So we're estimating around 200 lots so about half we would estimate could come from our development, go to the Paradise station, and come back through the Nonneville station in its current configuration. So that would leave approximately half of our lots that we knew we were going to have to build a call it fourth pump station on the creek, over next to the creek on our side, that will pump back up over the hill. And instead of connecting to the existing gravity sewer that cuts across of our frontage up by Nonneville, we could bypass that existing gravity line and connect straight to the Nonneville station.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Danny Hale, M&H Ventures. Engineers explained this to me. I'm not sure I truly understand what the dynamics of the engineering is, but we did talk about a solution to this. We want to participate in that, even though it's an existing issue today. They told us that they're already having backups down there if the pump goes down. So it's not a total capacity issue. So what we're proposing, we have 424 lots in the project. We're proposing to add $1,000 to the existing capacity fee. With the existing capacity fee being approximately $1,800, that'll put it at $2,800 times 455 lots. Will generate the biggest portion of the money that's needed. Again, we have capacity for about, as it exists now, for about half of the lots we have. So would be contributing on all of the lots. So it would be a significant contribution to the amount of additional flow that we would put on to the pump station. So it'd be disproportionately against us, but that's what we're proposing, is to add to the capacity fee that we already pay to help alleviate some of the cost on that. We would also donate the land on our site if they decide they want to move that to our site. So between the donation of land and the additional capacity fees, it will generate most of the dollars that are needed for the pump.
Okay.
And who are you proposing construct the pump station?
Well, as of right now, it's owned by and maintained by the city of Mount Juliet. I assume the city would do that with the contribution of funds that we put towards that. If we need to use those funds towards moving it to where it's a private sector deal, what we would propose is to pay those same funds in, build the station sometime after the second 200 homes are built. At the end, if there were any funds left over from capacity fees and extra fees we're paying, that would come back to the city, but, we would pay it out of those funds. But typically, the capacity fees that are paid on the sewer are so the city can supply the services to us. The services are there. You have an existing problem. If we weren't here, the city would have to take care of that on their own. We're proposing to be a funding source. We would rather not be a construction project for a city project. If it comes down to that, we can deal with it as long as we're dealing with the funds from the capacity fees.
Mr. White?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, your thoughts on the proposal?
I'm not aware of a situation where the city's built sewer infrastructure for a developer. So I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, or if that's going to set a precedence for the future. I think that just doesn't look right, because the current station today has capacity. It's operating just fine. It can operate just fine for the next 20 years without having to ever upgrade it. We will, in the next 5 years, have to change out some pumps in the station. We're estimating about $300,000 we'll have to spend on that station if this development doesn't go through. But the current station operates fine for what flows it handles today. So the sole reason why this station is needing to be replaced and upgraded is solely for this development. So I don't feel the city should be responsible for building them a station. Sure, we can maybe negotiate pitching in a little bit. It's up to you guys on the cost, but I just feel it would set a bad precedent for the future development if we construct infrastructure for them.
And that was kind of what I was wondering, because maybe I'm wrong. I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall the city building existing infrastructure like when it comes to sewer for a neighborhood, especially done underneath the PUD. It's usually done as part of the development, then handed over to the city. And I know we get into some of this because we accept the lines on this, and they have to be taken back in and depreciated back out after we accept them. Maybe I'm looking around for somebody to tell me I'm wrong on that, but.
And I would, Mayor, I would agree with that. I don't disagree with that. But what we have here is an existing pump station and we had a meeting with staff, Mr. Barlow there. And when we were all finished, I said, guys, I'm not an engineer. Everybody else in the room was. Can we drop this down to layman's terms so that I can understand it? And what they told me was there was a flow issue today. I think they had an issue I don't know when that was, but in recent memory, where the pump quit working and it backed up down the way to stop it. There's an existing issue there. It's an existing pump station. We don't need it to service our service. We're already installing a pump station on the back of our property. The first half of our property goes down in a different direction. There's kind of a mound in the middle of the property, and the front half goes one way and the back half goes another. So the front half goes down to a different pump station and it comes back through. That doesn't seem to be an issue from what I understand. But either way, I kind of feel like capacity fees is just for that. If you're going to pay capacity fees, that is so that you have capacity on the existing line. All we're doing is, and again, we were here before this issue came up. Was it in the last meeting? It's the first time we heard about it. So we've worked hard to work through it. We want to be a good partner with the city. We want to not only make it easier on the city to make sure things get done, we want to be part of that. If we are part of that, what we would propose is to use the fees that are being collected for taps and capacities to go towards that. Now, those are fees that are only paid by us when our building permits are pulled, right? So, and if that's the case, we think the funds are there to do it. If we need to take it on, we can, but we don't think it's fair. If you have off-site cost, it's not fair to charge the off-site cost plus this. So this is, in our mind, this is an off-site cost that needs to be improved now. Capacity needs to be enlarged today. When we were here in 2017, And I think we have 3 or 4 different capacity letters we've received over the years saying capacity is there. So when the meeting was over with, I went back and said, now let me understand it. Capacity is there, but there's some issues with this pump where it needs to be improved, whether we build or not. If we build, it definitely needs to be improved, but it needs to be improved either way. And they said, yes. And I said, okay, because I'm not an engineer. I just want to make sure I understand the issue. So if we do take it on, we would want to use the capacity fees as part of that cost, because our portion of the capacity on that pump is minimal. I mean, we will probably have 18% of the capacity at most. We think our cost should be 18%. If we are to take on and build the city a new pump, we just like to use those funds that are meant for those capacities to go towards it.
Right. Thoughts?
I'm more interested in you building the pump than the city, because we've already set a, we don't want to set a new precedence going forward. So that's where I'm leaning. I think your request is fair. I think there's a way we could probably work out. We've already earmarked, I believe, $300,000 to go into that pump.
Right.
It's 4 to 5 years. So obviously that's money we're not going to have to spend.
Mm-hmm.
So I would look to, as part of this,
Talk about the maintenance on the existing pump.
That's correct.
Replaced with a new pump, no maintenance.
That's correct.
Okay.
So with that, then what I would propose, if we want to stay with that, and I think that's reasonable, is we'd like to go ahead and pay the funds on the capacity and or tap as normal. We'd like to add $1,000 to that. We would like to put that in a fund as we pull building permits. Once we get to 200, we will move forward with the construction of that new pump. My understanding from the engineers, and again, I'm not an engineer, we have a gravity flow line going right across our property. We don't need that pump on the first 200. They all go one way to another pump station. So what we'd like to do is get kind of a running start at it, get about 200 homes built, pull the money back out of that escrow account, build it, collect money on others under that agreement. And then when we have 100% of the cost paid off, the city would continue to collect the additional fees.
Well, some of those fees are being passed on to to Metro. Is that correct?
You have about $600 passed on to Metro, I think. Is that right? Yeah. So we'd subtract that $600 because it has to go to Metro.
Almost 700.
Okay.
So that's going to Metro automatically. What's the total on that, Dana, being collected?
We're trying to 674.
No, what's the total that's paid per lot?
Oh.
Capacity.
Oh, I don't have.
Oh,
I don't have that sheet in front of me.
no.
It's 1735 on single families and 2535 on the townhomes. And then we're proposed, that's just in capacity. 1840?
1840 is what I.
Okay.
RS20.
1840 is what he's saying on the single families. And what about on the townhomes? 2535. 2535 they on the townhomes.
2535
Right.
per unit.
Right.
Okay. And our fee to Metro is set per unit.
Okay.
Okay, so that's $700 off that.
It's 674.
Okay, 674.
674.
I was gonna say, I'm kind of leaning with you here that I don't want to start a precedence on this. And I know I just hit the mic. Sorry about that for everybody listening, but I know some of this is not, like you said, you're not the sole source of all the problems on this. So like to find a way to work through this approval process to get that addressed. But at the same time, this is kind of like the point that's drawing us to having to address this too. So.
Sure, I understand.
Dana, to me, it sounds like a bunch of financial gymnastics. So I want to make sure we're pretty good on what is being proposed as far as the.
Yeah, we had some discussions on this. We weren't, thank you. We had some discussions on this with Public Works, and we weren't thrilled with the idea of the city building it, setting precedents, because we've never done that in the past. I'm a little concerned about it looking like we're waiving fees for them. And we can't do that. Basically kind of one hand coming in one hand and coming out the other. So it would have to be, we'd have to look at how it was going to be arranged.
Doesn't sound like you support it.
Not really. No.
So what we would propose, and again, this is coming up on the fly. This came up for the first time at the last meeting. The issues are evolving as we see it. So we have done the best we can to come up with a reasonable solution. There are capacity fees there. We're not asking to waive the capacity fees. We're asking to use them for what you collect them for, and that's to improve that pump station. Now, as part of that, we're asking to put additional money from us, additional money over the capacity fees into a pot. If you need us to take the lead on getting that built, we will. And what we're saying is let's get a running start at it. Let's use the capacity fees and the extra money we put towards it to get that done. Let's get about 200 homes, which is my understanding of the capacity that's available out there before we even need to worry about this. And then at that point, we'll build the pump. And I don't think it's waiving fees. I think you'll be collecting the fees. We'll pay them with the building permit. And then, but they'll be designated as part of this PUD to come back and be used towards that. So some of the money will be additional. Some of it will be what the capacity fees are supposed to be used for. And we can get it built in the private sector so you know it'll be done.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So do we know what the cost for this additional pump station is going to be? And will those funds be sufficient enough?
Matt?
Our consultant estimates 1.5 million is the cost of the pump station and the rerouting of the lines through the site.
And with that additional coverage that they're willing to put towards this project, is that going to be sufficient enough? Outside of the cost for the additional pump that they're going to be upgrading?
You're talking about the additional $1,000 that they're putting in?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. With the additional $1,000,
that would
400
only
homes
generate $423,000 roughly.
Yes. Yes, between that and then, of course, with what there's also now pushing back towards Metro. So if we're looking at the 1,700, the 674 going back to Metro, and then the additional 400,000. So we're looking at how much is going to be expected for the city to pick up on. Have we looked at those numbers?
Well, this city's staff's position is this not to put any city money on it, to be a developer, unless we wanted to throw in the 300,000 for the what we would be spending in 5 years, offering that up. But I guess that. So with the capacity fees, you're looking at around $900,000.
Yeah,
is what
you're looking at a little over 900,000 is roughly what they're.
But what I don't understand is they would pay that, but then they asking the city to refund them back for that. Is that what you're saying? If you're constructing it and you're paying all the capacity fees, you're asking the city to reimburse you back?
Well,
that would be like a vendor?
If we don't build the subdivision, there'll be no capacity fees, right? Capacity fees are meant to create capacity in the line to handle the very sewer. We are, remember, there are also, I'm sorry. The capacity fees are meant to create capacity in the line. The tap fees are what you use for maintenance. So you get two fees on the front end. One is for capacity. capacity is what developers look at as off-site cost for sewer. That's our burden on the sewer system. So you keep the sewer system running, we pay fees because you have to upgrade it from time to time when new development comes in, right? That's the very definition of capacity, to make sure you have the capacity in the lines to provide service. You don't. You have it for about half of the development. What we're proposing is to use the capacity fees, use the extra money we would pay, and possibly even the money that the city is going to put towards. I know they said if we relocated this, there are some new parts on that existing pump station that could possibly be used to offset it. And Joe, I don't have that information, but what we'd like to do is make that proposal in general tonight, because we really don't know what this is going to cost, how it's going to work. We hope we can get behind the scenes and work it out with staff and see how exactly it goes. But we're willing, our development would cover the cost of getting the pump relocated. We would donate the land. We would pay the fees. City would be getting a brand new pump station free of charge. That's what it amounts to. So all we're doing is saying those off-site fees that are used for capacity, let's use them right here on this project.
We've never.
So I guess,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. So I guess my main question, to get back to my point, which was, if we have initial 1,700 that is going to be for the capacity fees, 674 is going back to Metro. Okay, that puts us right around $1,000. So in addition to the $1,000 that you're also going to be adding to that capacity fee, which will get us up to around a $2,700 mark. If we know that the pump station is going to cost us around 1.3, 1.5 million, is that extra cost to be coming out of the budget? Or will you be expecting us to come back to the city to ask the city to help with anything?
We would not ask the city for any additional funds other than the capacity fees and the fees we pay. We would ask the city on the existing pump station. They have put some new parts on there that are transferable. We'd like to move those over to the new pump station if we do this. And then there was, I think, $300,000 in maintenance fees they're planning on doing on this pump. We would like to put that same money they're already going to spend onto the new pump station. So we would not come back. It would not affect your budget. It would all come out of the capacity and sewer fees there, with the exception of what they're planning on spending on that existing pump anyway, and take some of the parts.
What's your estimate? Have you got any estimates on building that pump station?
The only numbers we've had are as low as 1.2 if we use the parts, but really we're looking at $1.6 million, you know, all in $1.6 million. If there are some parts that can be moved or something like that, that's what it'd be. And just to be honest with you, on top of what we're doing, that is, that's a hurdle that we're not going to be able to cross by ourselves if we don't have some agreement on that. It's too much for one development. We're already building an $800,000 pump station on the backside of the development. So we think that the use, and we've done that before in other municipalities where you have offsite cost, impact fees or something, but you have impact. Actually, most impact fees are supposed to be used within a certain distance of the property they're created or go towards parks or schools. Right now, the total impact fee that we have proposed, and I'm not talking about just to the city of Mount Juliet, but with the county, the city voluntary impact fee that we're going to propose, that we have proposed, with the capacity fees and all, we are pushing about $20,000 a lot now in fees before we start turning dirt. We have gotten to that breaking point, that proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back. So all we want to do is if you want us to take this on, we're willing to do that. We'll get it built. We'll get it built as part of our development. The funds will come from our development. We would propose to use parts from that existing pump once we get the finishing parts. They don't need to be done right up front. They can be done at the end when we switch it over.
Assume you mean the ozone generator.
I think that's right, what you've already paid for. Yeah, we'd like to use
relatively
those.
New.
Yeah. And I think that was proposed by the city, right? Yeah.
What's Matt's input on moving those parts?
Yeah, we'd be agreeable to that. Since we've already paid for it and they're transferable to the new pump station.
So what's the cost associated with that if What does that take out of the?
It wasn't cheap. I don't know the numbers on what that cost to put in all the ozone, but it's quite a bit. It's probably 200,000 or 300,000.
It was measured with $100,000 increments,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. And it just for people's knowledge, that's just there to keep the odor down.
And so what we're proposing is that if the funds generated on site are not sufficient, we'll cover the deficit. We're not going to come back to the city and ask. If they are sufficient and there are extra monies left over for the tap and capacity fees, you would get those monies. So we're looking to cover the entire expense. And if, since we don't know the total cost, we are going to be using some parts. So if it gets built and here's the fee on it, if there are additional monies left over, that would come back to the city.
So I've got a thought. I'm just doing the math here. So using our numbers, 1.5 million. It's $300,000 I just heard for some parts that we just purchased. $300,000 that the city, so on top of that, $300,000 that the city would have spent anyways. So that going towards a contribution. There's a bathroom that's currently part of this. That's over by the Frisbee Golf. You told me it was roughly $300,000.
Right.
I would be open to removing that as a requirement. So there's $300,000. And then the $1,000 that you are offering up on top of the capacity and keeping the capacity fees as they are. So my rough math is that's $1.3 million. But we're going to maintain and keep the capacity fees. We're not going to refund any of that.
Yeah, we weren't asking for a refund. We're just asking to use them as capacity fees.
So that's what I think is a fair compromise.
Right.
So
just in the grand scheme of things, and it's not a place for debate, but the capacity fees are just for that. Those are for the creation of additional capacity in the line. And that's what we would be doing far, far beyond what our project will develop. This will be a regional center that's capable of handling all of Nottaway Road, any additional development you get on that line probably for the next 100 years, far beyond what we need in our capacity. So that's our request. If we're gonna be responsible for it, we do feel like it's a city pump. City needs to upgrade it whether we build or not. The burden that with the other fees that we're paying, it's really at the end. So we were going to ask. I mean, we proposed removing that restroom facility, which is not a public restroom facility. It's strictly for the HOA and its members. That will never be used anyway. We're going to remove that. We were actually going to use those savings for the $1,000 extra that we were putting into the project. That's where we're getting $1,000 extra anyway. So,
Kenny, did you have something?
Yeah, Mayor, a lot of good questions. I just want to say there was a time in the past where we were upsizing. I believe Matt might have to correct me on a sewer line, and we were going to do the upsizing anyway. And so we just made our contribute. Is that correct, Matt? Do you remember when we did that before? We
Jackson
upsized the
Hills, I
line.
believe.
Yeah, and we paid our
Jackson Hill,
portion.
yeah, to get it upsized. Yeah,
and that worked out pretty well. I sort of see this similar if
That's
those.
kind of,
Yeah. So I just want to say that if that created any confusion or if helped a little bit with that decision, if somebody else built it and we were going to make the upsize.
I think what's getting it a little confusing is using fees and this, because we've never been in the business of earmarking capacity fees for where they go.
That is true.
And I don't know if that's where I want to go here, but I would say double checking your math. You were saying $300K for the road. I wrote our restroom. I said railroad. $300K for the restroom, $400K in fees, another $300K in anticipated maintenance on the existing pump that would be avoided, and then $300K for equipment move. Brings it 1.3. That's the way you got your numbers.
That's correct.
So that to me kind of gets it close at least. So, yeah. You had something to add?
No, I'm here if y'all have any other questions.
Thank you, Matt. That's all I was wanting to do, Mayor, just confirm that one thing. If there was some similarities, what we did with that, if that gave you more comfort.
Yeah, I mean, we want to do the right thing up here, obviously, for everybody involved. We want to protect the people that are paying the sewer, that they're not incurring additional cost. We're not trying to unduly burden one person or.
So in addition to the 1.3 that you came up with, are you saying, Danny, that any expense above that would come out of the developer's expenses?
Under my proposal, if we use the capacity fees for what they're meant for, we take the parts, we would be willing to commit to covering any additional cost. And if it is less than what we think, because nobody really knows at this point, it could come in less than that. It could come in more than that. We don't know. I would assume these professionals know pretty close. They probably built one or two of them before. But we would propose, if it does go over, we would cover that cost, no cost to the city. We're not asking to take anything out of your general fund or even your TAP funds, but we are asking to use the capacity fees as they were meant to be used. Because you're going to have, if we don't build, you don't get the money. And if we don't, you're going to have to use some of the capacity fees already to improve this station. So we think that's a fair trade to get you a lot nicer building. It's like saying we need to build a building. We'll build you one twice the size, but we're asking you to contribute some of what you would have to the first building in the first place. So.
I do have
appreciate
one
you
more
working with us.
question, and I think it's for Matt. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Matt, so the additional pump, sorry, guys.
You're good.
Okay, quick. So with the additional, if we move forward with this project, when it comes to the additional pump station, will we be abandoning the old pump station after the new one's up and running?
That
Or
is
will this
correct.
be-
Yes. It will be abandoned. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a big one.
Yeah, this is a big issue, and it's not my intentions to bring things like this up on second reading, but this is kind of one that hit me late last week, so I don't know where everybody else sits on this one, and this may not be something we can get past tonight. I'd rather get it right than just get it done.
Right. And, I know we have also volunteered, and I think Commissioner Hefner has a good start on what could work. Would there be, if we could agree to that, could we move? We volunteered about $2,500 in voluntary impact fees, which will generate, well over $1 million on the thing. Could we move a portion of that, let's say $500 of that towards this, and still have $2,000 in voluntary impact fees, so that help offset this? Because we really are, we're doing all we can to move this thing forward. So if we could get $2,000 in the volunteer impact fees that we would give you to use towards transportation infrastructure, we'd use $500 towards this, and then we would cover the entire cost.
I guess my question would be to the finance director. That's, it's very clear you don't take money from the sewer fund.
Housing funds.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the, I think it would have to be donated directly to the sewer fund through additional
That's
capacity.
what we would propose tonight is to add $500 additional to the capacity fee, and then make a voluntary contribution of $2,000 for a voluntary impact fee.
If you say it that right way, it makes it all okay, correct? Okay.
And that would be with a revision of removing the restrooms down there, which we were going to ask for anyway, because they're not going to be used. So
It's still donating property for the.
That's right. We still donate the property.
And you would do the construction.
We would handle the construction if that's what this body wishes. And we would say that we'd like to get it completed before the 201st permit was pulled.
So you do the construction, the donation of the land.
I think I've captured it. I'm trying to sum it up.
So that would change. It would change it from 400,000 collected in fees to 600,000 in fees. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
We on the same page?
Yep. We sure are.
All right. You want to summarize it then?
You want to try it?
I'm going to go reducing the restroom, removing the 300,000, or removing the requirement for the restroom. The collection fees above would be 1,500 a lot, or working out to about 600,000 K total. The maintenance, the city would contribute the $300,000 we had allocated for the maintenance to the project, and we would contribute the ozone
parts.
generator.
Yeah.
Was that on par with yours?
That is on par.
Okay.
Mayor, just one more request on the pump station. Brick, any issues with brick on the pump station?
We're building a very nice subdivision out there. It's going to be
I figured
compatible
it.
with that brick. Would be brick or stone, or maybe a combination thereof would be an exterior cover.
Okay. we can add
Shingled
that.
roof,
Just city planner question. Would it be, would wording that be similar to the single family construction, similar materials for the pump station?
I would just say it needs to be constructed out of a 100% brick or stone.
Okay.
And if you want to add in an additional landscaping around that pump station, that'd be fantastic too. Thanks.
I need to amend that.
You want to, yep. I don't know if you did you make a formal amendment? I didn't hear a second.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
And I want to go over that again.
Okay. You want to make the formal amendment?
You're making the amendment.
Yes, so I move to amend based on Mayor Manus's recommendations stated.
State them again.
Donation of the land by the developer.
They will construct the station. Do we agree to the 200th building permit prior to?
I'll turn
I mean,
to
that depends on how they phase it out. If it's homes that are
the
going to be.
homes that are going to
We can't say how they're going to phase it now. We don't know, but it's going to be required whenever the homes in that area that it'll serve are built. So I don't know if we can say by CEO.
They will construct the station when Public Works
When
tells them
needed.
to.
Yeah.
What was the first one? There was something mentioned before the $300,000 maintenance fee.
removing the restroom,
Removing the restroom.
Restroom.
which will reduce load on the pump station.
Well,
Make a contribution of $1,500 per lot. I'm confused on that one.
Extra on top of the existing fee will donate to the sewer fund $1,500 per lot.
but that's with that 500 coming out of the volunteer contribution. Is it, which I'm not crazy about. Is this totally not doable without doing that?
Well, that's what we're working towards. Right now, we're trying to nail down the sewer portion of it.
Okay, and then, okay,
So $1,500 per lot on
donate
above,
to the sewer fund.
donated to the sewer fund.
City will contribute $300K in the ozone generator. The
Yes,
station will be constructed out of 100% brick or stone with landscaping.
And the restroom requirements by the Frisbee Golf.
I said remove, city agrees to remove requirement for the restroom at Frisbee Golf.
Fees, maintenance and the equipment. I think you've got everything. Is that
Okay, I need a
acceptable?
second.
It is.
I'll second then.
Thank you.
Do you have something to add, Mr. Marchetti?
I was just saying, there's been a lot of numbers thrown around tonight, and whatever it is, it needs to be incorporated into an agreement or contract between the city and the developer that outlines these deadlines, times, cost, et cetera. I know Public Works said $1.5 million for the pump station, and I don't know if that's in stone or 2 months old, 3 months old, or whatever it is.
Well, in this, it would be the developer's responsibility to build it. It'd be, we're amending the ordinance here, so it's actually part of the PUD.
So the developer is giving us the fees, they're building a pump station, and we're turning around and giving them back the fees.
Right.
Which is not good.
I think the idea there is, since we asked for 200 units to be built, which is the capacity there now as we understand it, we would set that money aside when the permits would pull. The builders would come in and pay that, but that would be set aside from your normal capacity fee fund to be used towards the construction of this in lieu of a bond. So we don't want to go in and bond $1.6 million on the front end. We'd like to just set the money aside every time we pull a permit, put that money in a fund. We can put an escrow account, you can put an escrow account, doesn't matter. And then we can pull out of it when it's time to build the station.
I think what I'm hearing is this would put the fee portion onto the builder to front the money. As opposed to developer. So that reduces your capital outlay.
On the front end, yeah, we reduce we'll have to reduce the sales price of the lot in order to accommodate it. So it is costing us. It just doesn't cost us day one.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm thinking.
Okay. So it's on the floor right now. It's got a motion and a second. At this point, I think we've got a framework here. I do think it needs some little extra work on it just to make sure we've got everything covered. I want to respect the developer here and his willingness to work with us. I also want to make sure the city and our subscribers to the sewer system are protected too. I make a motion, we defer this one meeting, just make sure we got everything nailed down.
Do we have to fail the motion in the second? Or can I retract? Can I retract my original motion? Or do we have to vote on it?
You can withdraw.
Do I draw it? Mm-hmm. I request to withdraw my motion.
I seconded, so I'm fine with that.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if we are going to defer tonight, could we get everything else out on the table so we don't come back next time and we have additional items that we have to draft? Because it's easy to take these things one at a time, but we have to look at it in the totality of the cost of the development.
Yeah,
so if that would
I think that's a fair request.
Yeah. That's fair.
Thank you.
We pulled the motion for the sewer, so I think we got a framework about that out. Are there any other issues that anyone else has that want to address? I think if we can get past sewer, we can take on the world.
I just had one more. I just want to make sure that the widening of the road is done before, and I think I made this request before, that the widening is done up front while you're doing the turning lanes.
Yes, sir.
And the voluntary fee, however, that it's $2,500. I know we're still working on those numbers, but I'm going to make sure that that's set. And then, of course, what we end up working out in the end will work out. in the end. But those are the only two additional items I had. As far as the contribution, one more thing, I do want that earmarked for transportation.
And if that was a motion on the floor, I was going to amend the motion to,
So are you seconding the motion then?
is that an official motion?
Yes, formal motion.
Okay, so your motion is what?
My motion is to widen the street up front along with, at the same time, you're putting in the turning lanes. And then second is the $2,500 voluntary contribution is earmarked towards transportation.
And what we were asking is if we're going to take on that additional cost, no cost to the city, we would reduce the voluntary impact fee to $2,000 to go towards transportation.
And see, I'm not crazy about that because I was going to amend your motion to have the one of two things. And that has to do with sidewalks. For you to use the $2,500 to construct the sidewalks, to extend what you're already doing on Nonaville Road, to extend that to Lebanon Road on the east side. And there's a small little section on the west side. Matt, is that between the apartments and it's just a small little section?
Between Wintry Trace and the new apartments
Yeah,
driveway.
which would totally complete the sidewalks on both sides of the road, all the way to Lebanon Road.
That
So
would.
I was going to amend that motion to have you construct and use that money, the $2,500, to complete the rest of the sidewalks along Nolensville Road. Which, when I talked to Andy, he thought it was going to be close to what that $1 million plus comes to, with no concrete figures, of course, but, or in lieu of the $2,500, just make it a condition that you do the sidewalks.
Do we have right of way?
Huh?
Do we have right of way?
I think one of the issues, and I'm not an expert engineer, but when you talk about sidewalks, you talk about curb and gutter, you talk about
Curb
a
and
lot
gutter
of
and storm
other
drains.
issues that this could run into $2 or $3 million, not doable for us. The 600 feet to close that gap that would get you from Wintry all the way to Lebanon Road, I think we could probably handle that 600 feet that is there now that needs to be closed. I know the apartments are taking it from their site down to Lebanon Road on that side, and the doggy daycare or the place for old pets, I think, is building in front of their site. You have a 600-foot spot there where you don't have sidewalk. I think we could commit to that and pay the $2,000 in voluntary contributions. I'm not sure we can make a commitment for the east side because I think that's a bigger project than just sidewalks. I think that is
Utilities.
It could be utilities, it could be some right of ways, it could be driveways, it could be curb and gutter, it could be storm sewer. We have no way to know what would be required on that. What we do know is there's one brand new good sidewalk on Nottingham Road that has a 600-foot opening there. It's not part of our development. It's not part of our project. It has no bearing on us, but we would volunteer to take care of that 600 feet there. So that's what we would ask.
Are you talking about on the west side?
That would be on the west side, yes, ma'am. Yeah, that way you would have one good sidewalk all the way to Lebanon Road. And currently, and I think the apartments, my understanding on the timing of that is within a year, they're going to be pulling their first UNO. The place for older dogs is going to be finished by the end of the year, is my understanding. So you'll have a sidewalk there within 12 months, but it won't be finished. So I think it'd be better for us to put our resources, towards that, because we have no idea. We have no idea what the east side looks like or what all would be involved in it. So if it were just sidewalks, I think that in lieu of the 2,500, I think that could be it. But I just don't know that we know enough now to know what all would be involved and if that would be enough to cover it. So
Because it includes curb and gutter and storm drains and right of ways.
we don't know what all, I mean, we have no idea until a fully engineered study's done, survey's done, plans are drawn. We'd have no idea what would be entailed and what the cost would be.
All right, so if your motion would go to a transportation, could we add multimodal? And
I think it's included in there.
would that include multimodal?
Transportation includes multimodal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how could we address the sidewalks at a later time then if that goes under transportation?
We can take it on as a city project to do the sidewalk, or we can apply for grants to help with and let that be sort of a match for the grant.
I think
You can do a number of things.
I think we're seeing a lot of grants available on sidewalks, so that's maybe
Yeah.
one to just back up, find out exactly what we need, get the surveying done, find the utilities, sure we have the right of way, maybe take that out under as a grant. I know some of these we're getting 80% matches on these things.
Yeah, correct. And that may apply for a multimodal grant, which pays 95% by TDOT.
95% is even better.
Because it connects to State Route, Lebanon Road. So I think it would apply for that type of grant. So if not, then it'll pay 80% grant. So it's an option. I would say if they're going to complete the gap on the west side, I would also add in if a signal, because we don't know if a signal is going to be warranted at their entrance. If a signal is warranted, I'd want to do a crosswalk across Nonneville at the signal and sidewalk from their entrance to the dog daycare place, because there will be a short gap there. So that gets their residents all the way to Lebanon Road if you do that. But if a signal is not required, obviously I don't encourage people to walk to cross Nonneville without a signalized crosswalk.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to cross it.
That's a short distance. I mean, it's very short. They're okay with that. So if a signal is warranted, they have to build the traffic signal and sidewalk to connect up to the existing sidewalk on Nonneville.
Okay.
But that would not
And
come
in
out
addition
of,
to that gap. No, that would be on them.
yeah, that would not come out of this
No.
because that's already in your plan
That would
At-
be their
at
responsibility,
the
yes.
developer's expense.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion on the floor.
It's not, there's no second on it.
Hmm?
Well, are you just reciting what Scott's got then?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I didn't officially amend anything. I was just, so the motion on the floor then is for them to do the Nonneville Road widening and the turn lanes up front.
Mhm.
And
$2,500
$2,500
voluntary
to
to go
To
towards
transportation. Okay, on Nonneville Road. Or are you specifying?
I'm not. I'm going to leave it up to the staff recommendation.
Okay. Matt?
Say that again. I was talking to Jennifer.
He was not earmarking the money to go on Nonneville Road. He was just leaving that up to you in that district, basically.
Okay.
Right?
That's correct. It's wherever it's
really-
needed. I mean, it's not, we don't need to make up problems. It's just if there's an issue, that's where the.
I mean, we got plenty of needs, so I mean, it's really up to you guys if you think sidewalks needed on the east side to earmark it towards that, or
Well, I do. So I'm going to amend your amendment to earmark it for Nonneville Road. Preferably to go toward the sidewalks.
Is there a second?
Nope.
I'm hearing none. Well, I think this is going to, afraid this may leave us at an impasse at 2,500 and what you've said earlier, reducing it to 2,000, but
Really wanted to get it all out tonight.
So if you're motioning for the 2,500 and you're asking for the 500
Reduction.
to go toward this, okay, I have a question. Or Gino, is it legal to take that $500 and put into the sewer capacity? If you're calling it an impact.
Yeah, we
fee?
just don't pay the 500 and then we pay it in.
I'm gonna recommend a $500 credit there on this if we get through the sewer piece on it in the final.
Okay.
So you were asking for us to get it all on the table tonight, so.
Right. And I appreciate that. That means a lot. I don't want to put it on this council because the council's worked well with us so far, but we have had a tendency at a lot of different places to get last minute ads. So if we've got all that worked out, we just need to work out the language on the sewer and the numbers. We can get that wrapped up and hopefully not add anything to the mix between now and then.
I'll say this. I hate the fact the sewer came up the way it did, but it was, I think maybe Thursday afternoon or something is when I first brought to my attention the complexity of the problems with the multiple pumps hitting the same wet well with the same pump. So.
And if the commission is so inclined, I mean, and we can come back if it's not, but if you're so inclined and you want to approve this, I think we've got a framework. You could leave it, the language on the sewer with staff or attorney to get language together based on the framework we've laid out, and just the approval would be subject to finalizing that wording. And then we could wrap up tonight, not have to come back. So based on that framework, I think it's really just wording at this point.
I think so, but my preference would be just to have it all up front. And
okay.
Everybody know what we're committing to.
Right. Okay.
My preference.
We asked for a deferral until the next meeting based on the comments.
I had a couple other things I was going to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We do need to vote on Scott's.
Need a second?
And I second that. So all in favor of the voluntary donation going towards transportation projects signify.
Of 2,500?
Yes, 2,500 widening Nunneville Road at the beginning. So
That's correct.
Were you saying before a CO was pulled or a permit pulled?
That's correct. There's language in the PUD right now that requires the turning lanes to get put in place up front.
Right.
I don't know if up front is a technical term or not. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm saying the widening of that road, which comes, the way it's written now, it has to come prior to the 100th CO. I'm saying that widening of that road needs to take place up front while you're doing the turning lanes. Prior to pulling the technical term, prior to pulling the first CO.
We're fine with that.
Okay.
So prior to pulling the first CO, widen the road.
That's correct.
What do you have, Sheila? All right. And the voluntary donation?
Voluntary contribution earmarked for transportation.
Correct.
That's correct.
All in favor signify by saying aye on the amendment.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Gotcha.
All right.
All right.
Next item.
I motion to amend to add appropriate street lighting on Nonneville Road at the entry point wherever Public Works deems appropriate for placement, keeping in mind that there may be a traffic signal there one day. In addition, add lighting within the development from the entry point to Lot 1, street lighting of Public Works' choosing. They had submitted a picture that they suggested with a minimum of 300 feet on both sides of the Collector Street A, street lights on all 4 quadrants of each roundabout, and lighting around the dog park and playground as Public Works deems appropriate, and lighting at the trailhead parking lot as Public Works deems appropriate. That's a motion to add those conditions. Okay. The first one was two things. One, add appropriate street lighting on Nonaville Road at the entry point wherever Public Works deems appropriate for placement, keeping in mind that there may be a traffic signal there one day. And then also add lighting within the development from the entry point to, I'm sorry.
Add in lighting in the development.
Within the development from the entry point to lot 1.
Okay.
Street lighting of Public Works' suggestion. They've already made a suggestion. A minimum of 300 feet on both sides of Collector Street A.
Okay.
Street lights on all 4 quadrants of each roundabout.
Okay.
Lighting around the dog park and the playground as Public Works deems appropriate.
Okay.
And lighting at the trailhead parking lot as Public Works deems appropriate.
Okay. That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, I'll second to find out more about this. I guess my first question is how much of the lighting do you already have planned on as far as your roundabouts and trailheads?
We already plan to meet all city requirements for street lighting.
But these were not included.
We actually only have street lighting requirements in multifamily, but if you take a look at note 21 on the master development plan, Ms. Mullally condition is already added.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are you good with that?
Mm-hmm.
It's already
Okay,
added.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
So would you willing to withdraw your?
I withdraw.
All right, I'll second
As long as
withdraw
it's
it.
covered
Okay.
and written.
Void to vote.
I do have a question, under planning, under the ordinance, under planning number 12, it states a maximum 110 alley loaded products shall be allowed. Wasn't this amount increased? Well, it was, but we need to get that and fix that number.
Yeah, Joe Haddix again. We need to increase the alley loaded product to 167 units. And that was per what was shown. What was shown on the original submittal was 160, but that included several variance requests we had made that we weren't granted at the Planning Commission. So we subtract out the variances to construct as shown, we would need 167 alley loaded units.
Okay, so if we can just change that in that ordinance.
Such your motion to change to 167?
Yes.
I'll second. City planner? Good? All right. All right, let's vote on that change under Public Works, planning number
Number 12.
Item number 12. Replace a maximum of 110 alley loaded products shall be allowed. Replace that language to state a maximum of 167 alley loaded products shall be allowed. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That's unanimous on that one.
I just had one other thing that had to do with the verbiage of what you submitted for your declarations and covenants. So the motion is to include in the overall PUD, which includes the single and the townhomes, wording in your declarations and covenant to add a restriction that no more than 10% of units may be long-term rental properties in no more than 2 units can be owned by the same person. And then, of course, that would be transferred over to the HOA to be monitored by them. Gino, would you like to give input on the
No, the
legalities?
intent is to restrict the number of rental units. Then we've done this in some other developments that we restrict it to no more than 10% of the total units be rental. And then they already have in their covenants that no more than one owner shall have 2 units that are rental units.
Okay.
So it would be to add the 10% overall requirement. No more than 10% can be long-term rentals, which is longer than 6 months.
Okay, so that's my motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. So on the table, we have a motion to restrict long-term rentals to no more than 10%. and
Overall.
Overall.
In single and townhouse.
For the PUD.
For the PUD.
Okay. 10% for the PUD and no more than 2 units or properties per owner.
Right.
I get it right?
Yes.
All right.
As rentals.
Do you get?
Owners per
2
rental,
property owners
and
per
y'all
rental.
were just
You can
saying
own
2
100
property
units,
owners.
but you can't rent more than 2 of them.
No more than 2 units can
Their
be
units are-
owned by the same
Their
person.
restrictions already say that.
Okay.
So the only thing you need to add is that 10%
10%.
of total units can be long-term rental.
Is that acceptable? 10%?
Mhm.
Okay. So the motion is to do a restriction of no more than 10% for the PUD be rentals.
And this, of course, would transfer over to the HOA and they would monitor, because the city wouldn't want to monitor that, so. No, that's already in there.
10%.
I only stated it for the record.
Mr. Hill?
I would like to add, just doesn't require a vote tonight, but I would like to add on the townhomes that are going to be within the development, we will have to set up a new, they would all be restricted according to the restrictions that we have, but we'll have to set up another HOA to monitor the HBR. They have separate, townhomes have they maintain roofs and yards and things like that. So we'll have to set up a sub-association for that. They would be whatever these restrictions are, plus the ones that would be required to have that. Not a big deal. I just don't want you to think when we file a second set of documents that it's different. It's just when you have 2 products in the same unit, you have to have a set of bylaws and restrictions for each.
Like it.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other discussion, questions, or comments on this item? All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
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 All right, that passes. All right, I would add one thing. I think the young lady here on the corner had a question about an easement. I would just ask that if maybe a representative could get with her between now and what I think will be deferred to second reading the second time and talk through those issues. That would be very appreciated. I know she would appreciate it. So with that, I'll make a motion that we defer this for one meeting.
Second.
All right, it's seconded. Any discussion on the on deferment? All in favor of deferring for one meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is deferred one meeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next item of business was formerly found on the consent agenda, item number 8.1, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 3.2 acres, properly known as the Smiley property and being found at 815 John Wright Road, map 76, parcel 59, and being located within the city's urban growth boundary. I will make a motion for that. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it is on the table. And Mr. Smiley, I apologize. I did not think we'd keep you here this late for my one question, and that's why I moved it off consent. So my Public Works, my question is with us annexing this, we would then have the property on both sides of the road there. Would that portion that we have property on both sides of it cause that portion of the road to become a city street?
Becomes ours to maintain, or if we have to actually apply to the county to take it over? How's that work? Do you know?
We'd have to ask to take it over.
So we may not have to if we don't want to.
All right, that was my question. I apologize for keeping you here so late for that one item.
Unless you want it.
on consent.
This sewer is something important. Hey, I want to say I appreciate it. My neighbor is here, Mr. Randall, and because they, had to post whatever's going to happen. I'm not sure myself what happens to lots around me, and that's a concern of a couple of my neighbors. Just making sure this does just affect me. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You good?
Any discussion or debate? All in favor of the item as read, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
You have a unanimous vote. That's second reading, so welcome to the city of Mount Juliet.
All right. So what happens next? Just from what do I need to do?
You might want to get with staff on the
All right.
the next.
I'll get with that other guy. He's saying.
All right. Our next item is item 8.5, an ordinance to appropriate funds from Parks Land to Parks Improvement in the 2021 budget ordinance 2020-25. It's a lot of 20s. And I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it is on the table. Is there any discussion? We ready to vote on this? All right.
Which one are we on?
We are on 8.5. This is the funds for Parks Land.
I've got some discussion.
The floor is yours, sir.
This is a lot of money. I know we had our workshops and we went through it. I requested some details on the finances. I did go through that. I'm not trying to derail this. This is a lot of money, and I'll make sure we're doing the right thing. What is the total, by the way? So we're close to 2 point several minutes. I don't know if Dana, if you have that available. $3 million.
And plus 50.
5 in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my question is, it's a lot of cash. I know bond interest rates are pretty cheap right now. Do you have any recommendations one way or the other if there's maybe an opportunity to look at bond issuance given the low interest rates versus using? Yeah.
We have a considerable amount of cash, and we have a lot of it reserved for our capital projects. So we're holding on to a lot of cash for those projects that take years to do. So I don't think it would be, I wouldn't recommend doing a bond for 3 million or even a note for 3 million. It just wouldn't be worth.
Well, let me clarify. There could be some other projects that might be coming up in the near future that would possibly roll up into a larger issuance. I'm just, again, it's a lot of money and I want to make sure we're looking at all the financial aspects of it. If, again, interest rates are very low right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my only question. I just wanted to get your input on that.
If there's other projects that you're looking at or something bigger, then I can see it. This money is already appropriated. It was appropriated for parkland.
Right.
So we're not appropriating anything new. We're just moving it from the parkland to the improvements line item.
Yeah.
I seriously doubt that they could spend all of that before June 30th. So it is something that you could look at budget time. I know there's some he wants to get on, right away, but it is a considerable amount of money, but it's something that you could consider looking at during budget, because I don't think he's going to be able to spend it all before June 30th.
Yeah.
So it would roll
It's
forward.
not new money.
Well, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah. And I understand if there's something larger that you want to put into a bond, then I would say, yeah, the interest rates are great right now. And it wouldn't, cost of money wouldn't be very much. But we do have a large sum out there that if you wanted to spend it on this and then a big capital project, borrow for that, you could do that later. It just whatever kind of your priorities want to be.
Okay. All right, that was it.
All right. All right, ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That passes. Passes on a second reading, so it's done. Item number 8.7, a resolution adopting a plan of services for a parcel known as Hamilton. Oh, I'm sorry, I already voted on that. I'm reading the wrong one. Item 8.6. I'm getting a plan of services. I'm getting a correction there, folks. Item 8.6, a resolution adopting a plan of services for the parcel known as the Smiley parcel located at 815 John Wright Road, map 76, parcel 59 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's on the table. Any discussion on the plan of services? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And with that, I think we have completed the old business portion of the agenda. We'll move to unfinished business. I'm sorry, we will not. We will move to new business. Item 11.1, an ordinance which shall be known and may be cited as the 2021 Fiscal Accountability Ordinance to create a policy on requirements for budget amendments and capital items greater than $10,000 and leases. I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second it.
All right. It is on the table. Is there any discussion or questions? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes
Aye.
unanimously. 11.12, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2021 budget ordinance 2025 to appropriate funds for codes enforcement and for economic development city beautiful department. Yeah, mouthful.
Motion.
I got a motion. I'll second. It is on the table. Any discussion? And I take it this was just for the remainder of the budget year.
Yes, sir.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Our last item on our agenda is a resolution to set the threshold for capitalization. I'll make a motion for that.
Second.
And it's seconded. It is on the table. Is this in any way related to our audit?
No.
Okay.
No, this is just formalizing a policy that we already have. It's come up when we did the Standard & Poor's review. They asked about a capitalization policy, which we use this anyway. We just never formalized it and brought it to the board. So that's what this does. The wastewater board asked for it as well. So we're just bringing it and getting it formalized and official.
Very well. If it's already been in use, I think it's served the city well. So any other questions, comments? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, that passes. Last item on this agenda sheet is number 12, which is adjournment. Any objections to adjournment?
Nope.
Well, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.